Welcome back to the Intel Extreme Masters World Championships. We are halfway through this series between H2k and ROX Tigers, and ROX Tigers are just one game away from making it to the Spodek Arena on Sunday. A semi-final place secured for them. I guess where we go from here is, what do H2k have to do to bring themselves back into this series? Where do I start?
I want to see them move away from Shin. Not that Odo's playing poorly on it. He's actually playing quite well. You know, they gave away the Camille. They took the Shin, knowing that they had the kind of the soft counter matchup. He did punish her quite heavily, but unfortunately, the rest of the team, the cohesion there, maybe a communication breakdown, they're not using it proactively. They're using it reactively, and it's costing them on the map. It cost them in their first game against Hong Kong Esports, and it cost them in their last game against ROX.
We're into Champion Select here. This is make or break now for H2k. Remember, they aren't out completely if they lose here. They do go to a decider match that will take place on Sunday, and it will be the resulting of the loser bracket final of Group A as well. So they will find out their opposition tomorrow. So H2k technically make it to the Spodek, but that is on the Saturday.
And this is a very interesting ban from H2k. Starting out with the Rengar, clearly no one of the Asian teams really gave a damn about Rengar so far, and really exploited the weaknesses. As you see, they prioritized the Kazakhs more. And we were talking earlier about how the champions that don't rely on their ultimate can offer more consistent pressure and more plays throughout the game and really take advantage of that. And Kazakhs, compared to Rengar, not only does he have pretty equal assassination prowess, he also provides a much more presence in a team fight, while also a tremendous amount of utility. You can go Black Cleaver, evolve your spikes, really helps out a AD composition or any siege comp or any of these kind of pokey compositions with a lot of ADs.
So they are respecting the Camille this time round. She goes straight off that ban phase. Second ban here for H2k. Last ban, what are we expecting here? What is left open?
Kench.
Kench? You think the Jace comes through? Not respecting the Kench that much. Maybe we'll see it on the second ban phase if it doesn't get picked up by ROX on these first 3 picks.
I just always keep forgetting about Jace because he's been perma-banned the entire tournament.
But Varus making it through again.
But this is the thing, we expect, and you know, Crumbs, you brought this up, the kind of the difference between the Western priority versus Eastern priority of Rengar. We saw last game H2k, you know, their priority pick was the Rengar. This time around it's not available, but I feel like even if it was available, the Asian teams time and time again have shown that Varus is the priority pick, that they're fine to reach elsewhere for their jungle.
And I want to see H2k go with something like a Sivir. You know it can work into the Varus. You know it works great with the tanks topside, the Poppy, the Rumble. Not a tank, but works great with Sivir, or even the Maokai. Just make sure that you have a composition that lets you pull the trigger when you need to. Very straightforward. No need to set up any fancy flanks or any kind of timing windows that you will miss.
So at least locked in here for Jankos. And like you said, if they want to get the Sivir, they might have to get it on this rotation, because what we saw last time from ROX is they took that Sivir away, left the Jhin open, and they felt very comfortable playing into it.
But they can afford to grab it on their last pick.
That's what, so I meant on the first 3 rotations of picks. But they're confident with their Jhin. They're going to lock it in. And you can see the analysts, they are frowning.
I mean, Nuclear's playing well on the Gen. It still offers a lot. Again, it's not the greatest matchup into Varus in the 2v2 lane, but obviously they value its playmaking potential.
Sure.
It's still not like they're organizing themselves into a situation where they're waiting on all of those cooldowns. It helps them break the mid lane tower, so still not a terrible pick.
Hopefully, it is the change of pace that is necessary, though. Elise, not one of the most popular picks over in Europe, does mean that they have to be on the early game aggression non-stop. You really need to make use of this pick, otherwise it will fall flat. And if ROX is to craft a composition of Siege, which is already clearly obvious when you go with Graves, Varus, and Malzahar, Elise is gonna have to be making a lot of dive plays. Immobile picks, very squishy, so the onus is going to be on Jankos here to really make sure that something explodes in the early game, and if it does, it'll be so refreshing to see H2k kind of have a new lease on life.
Where do you think this final pick on this rotation is? Do you just match with a support, for instance, so you don't have that banned away, and then you just get the sort of the top lane, mid lane duel in the second ban phase?
If bot lane priority push is important to you, I expect that Kench or Karma will be pinched in the second rotation of bans.
So they're putting priority, not yet locked in, but they're looking like they're thinking about a top lane pick of Maokai. There it is, locked in. Maokai comes in straight away for H2k Oddawamne, moving away from the Shen. They've said, okay, I'm done with the Shen now. I just want to dive. I want to make plays that are a little bit more consistent.
Exactly, but it's the exact same thing. Instead of pressing the R button, you get to press the W button, but it's all about those flanks.
Yeah.
And it's a full-on team fight because Elise and Maokai lose a lot of kill pressure because they're both magic damage champions, and so the atomization in the top lane becomes very easy to survive that combination. So similar to the composition where they had the Shen and Ashe that revolves around going bottom, this time around they can be a little bit more flexible, offer a little bit more of group plays, and really work as a 5-on-5 unit and not have to set up multiple lanes at a time before going for an engage.
Second ban phase comes through. Misfortune, the pick-off here for ROX. And it looks like it's Fiora instantaneously banned by H2k straight away. And now they're really thinking about this next ban of this phase.
Well, the Fiora and the Shen really make a lot of sense. Two matchups that want to split push against the Maokai. And what this does is that H2k is forcing ROX's hand to pick a top laner that will also have to group so that both teams are just going 5-on-5 head-on who can win in this scenario, as opposed to the 1-4 that could split up H2k as they have been previously and dismantled.
Do you think Fabiven rounds up with an Orianna with this composition? Does it seem, or he could go back towards the Syndra? I mean, they've still got to pick their mid lane and their support right now.
I mean, he's playing so well on the Syndra that you could go back to it. It's also kind of different breaking points for both of the champions. Syndra is going to peak a little bit earlier, especially on level 6, and how that can immediately translate into jungle pressure, whereas Orianna is pretty reliant on those 3 items before she like really starts popping off.
So I actually have a faint hope that this is actually not an AP mid laner and that it goes to be a Zed pick.
Oh, okay.
The comp makes a tremendous amount of sense going with Zed, and having an Orianna would really overload your comp with magic damage, considering that you have Karma as well as your support. And this is beautiful. Zed right here would be wonderful. You can go into a great matchup into Syndra. It has tremendous synergy with Elise, with Maokai and Karma. This pick could really break this game apart, but unfortunately it relies on so much confidence right now. Fabiven has been playing well, but does the team really put that much? Oh my, geez, this is like Zed play where you cannot pass up on this opportunity. GP as well.
Every single one of those targets is viable.
This is a godly game for Zed.
I mean, if Crumbs is right, H2k have left it to their very last pick to make this decision.
Okay.
Okay, Nautilus comes through, slightly less so.
It's still good. It's still a great Zed game.
So you think that it makes sense to leave the mid lane pick all the way to the end. If you want to lock in something like Zed, it gives you the best options to assess.
Oh, boring. No.
It's so boring.
Oh.
Yeah.
Is he going to do it?
Is he going to do it?
He's taking Ignite. It's done. It's done already.
Come on, Fabiven, step forward.
Yes. That's what I'm talking about. Finally.
There we go. Zed gets locked in. Prophet Crumbs strikes once again. And it looks like we're going to see Fabiven playing that mid lane assassin, like you said, not overloading the composition with magic damage, gives you split push pressure, has a good 1v1 in some cases versus the Syndra. So I think we're going to be looking forward to an exciting game here.
The dive pressure and capabilities out of H2k is disgusting. The issue that I have for them is if you look at ROX's side lanes in terms of push priority, Nautilus has push priority over Maokai, and Varus and Malzahar, depending on how they play the lane, can also get push priority on Jhin Karma.
Which means they'll have to keep the composure and really make sure that they don't fall into the trap of somebody feeding, and that means they have to really just go on that. They have to stick by their plays. It doesn't matter how ridiculous these invades are. If they stick to their plays and make sure they snowball that, you got Graves and Varus, 2 great targets for you to always be killing. This could really be the game that H2k needed.
Now, you both went for H2k last time. This is going to be the hard part now because ROX have got that game under their belt, and I'm going to put the pressure on you two. I want to hear your predictions.
Okay, unfortunately, even though I like what H2k did to adjust their draft, I'm going to go with ROX. I think that they're playing a cleaner game. I think they look more confident in how they're being decisive on the map.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree. Like before we were chatting, we were thinking this really looks like ROX has a hold on this, and the morale on H2k doesn't really seem to be there to match what the composition is. It looks awesome. The previous comp also looked great for H2k for what they were trying to do. So if we really remove that and just apply it to their play, I think ROX will have this.
That said, this is still good news for EU fans in the home crowd because Crumbs and I have been wrong in like every single prediction. So even though we picked ROX, all the EU guys should be going, yes, our team will finally
We did it.
I'm so glad I've not been making predictions because you can't throw that on me. Anyway, we're going to a very short break before the game gets started, and when we're back, it will be Papa Smithy and Dracos again. Could this be ROX making it to the Spodek on Sunday? We'll see.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Game 2 between ROX Tigers and H2k. We praised the compositional build coming in from H2k in Game 1, but it was not enough to stop the Tigers from running them down, and single small mistakes ended up being what decided that game. Here in Game 2, H2k have tried a bit of a different gambit. Zed coming into the mid lane, I think, has to be our big talking point.
I mean, it is really much a talking point because ROX showed how to play Zed in their series against BBQ that they won on Sunday just a few days ago. They just completely snowballed the game through, and there was no hope for BBQ once the Zed got started. That could certainly happen here for H2k. Very favorable lane matchup, especially after 6 for Mickey, for Bivin, because he's able to pop Mickey's ultimate. So it's the sort of game where we saw the early draft at least, I'm like, I wonder where they're going to go with this draft. Where it ended up is certainly a draft that can work for H2k, and the snowball here, that this could be the 26-minute game that we really have been denied all day.
Of course, it is H2k on the red side, ROX Tigers on the blue. An explosive game to be sure, but we have to say, if ROX are the team to bring out the Zed, do they now know exactly how to play against it? Or is Mickey going to struggle here in this mid lane?
I mean, there's not enough tools, I think, Dracos. Once you get a last pick Zed into so many favorable options, it's the sort of game where Zed can really run away with it as a champion himself, because like the analyst desk was saying, target selection here is anyone other than Linderon in many ways for Bivin. So Felice managed to go for the invades Songwon was pulling off in his first series of the day. If the duo basically of Jankos and Bivin get on top of Songwon and Mickey, there's just no turning around, it feels like, barring a massive misplay on the side of H2k.
Have seen one or two of those already. Interesting adaptation coming in here from ROX, trying to deny the early Raptor start that we've seen become popularized over the course of this tournament. Someone's going to have to tank those saplings.
We're watching this, all three are placed down.
Oh, going to contest it, taking some of the experience back. Yanko smites it out. Early jungle fight coming through. They're going to look to take the red buff as well.
Look at this. This is actually a pre-planned strategy. So 4 Voidlings onto the red buff means that Sungyun will actually enter lane with red as they take the enemy red, chunking out Jankos. Pre-planned strategy by ROX Tigers. And the cadence of this game, which looks so simple, suddenly it looks like Jankos will be denied 2 buffs, significantly behind. This is really cool to see, and the first really big adaptation we've seen in the early game.
And this is absolutely crazy coming in from ROX Tigers, because we talked about how crucial this Elise has to be. Europe hasn't shown it too much yet. Jankos, kind of the big adopter outside of Amazing. But ROX have the experience against this pick, and they're shutting it down.
Early game feels so solved in this meta. Very defensive starts. You look for the ward. You try to find information about one camp and then map where the enemy jungler is. And then Jankos realizes he's not going to get to his red, sees Sungyun enter with red, and he's like, oh crap. I've definitely been 3 buff. I'm definitely significantly behind in terms of buffs. And now invading the level 3 Elise, which can start the snowball, get this game going, is going to be delayed. Sure, probably not going to fall into a level disadvantage, but the amount of pressure that's been relieved from the solo lanes here is immense. Making a display under the enemy turret, not respecting, at least looking for an early gank. Nautilus as well, super pushed in as you can on the Nautilus versus the Maokai.
Yeah, despite all that, Jankos still going to push in for a little bit of deeper vision and may look to find an opportunity here against Mickey.
No cleanse, remember. Exhaust on the Syndra.
Playing towards the top side of the map, though, will stop Jankos from finding an impact there. Playing towards the side with his jungler. This is clean play coming in from Kongju here in the early game.
ROX Tigers even, my friend.
ROX
Different
Tigers.
Korean
Oh, wow.
team. But the smart thing here, and the reason why we're noting that he's playing to the top side of the mid lane is, where else could Jankos go? There's no camps anywhere else on the map. He needs to be bot side and looking for a gank. Speaking of ganks,
Odoamne
we're going all in.
So much damage there from the Graves, but Odoamne is healing up for now. Liderang taking a little bit of damage. I don't think
He
they're going to
can't
be able
get
to
through
get
the
it.
turret.
Body blocked by the turret. Odoamne, those are some smart plays. We talked about mitigating the pressure. Well, Graves showing up is going to mitigate some of that. Jankos flashes in, Cocoon lands. They're looking to get first blood for Bevy, and that's going to come through. Jankos picks it up.
So important that after the course of events, the disaster at level 1, H2k avoid the first blood on top and actually secure it in the mid lane. Sungwon gonna try and just clear his camps without a lot of health. Odoamne popped damage from the Graves and was so smart at keeping the turret between at all times. He just walks up to Forbidden. We've seen Key walk up to people and might have done it again.
Exhaust comes out. Key, what are you doing? Flashes the Cocoon.
Key loves holding lanes, apparently even the mid lane in front of 2 people. Uses both summoners for no gain whatsoever.
Trying to hold all the cooldowns from an Elise and a Zed as well, Papa Smee. I think we could put that one in the not so good column.
That was actually pretty funny. So on the screen there, we saw the hook actually get popped by Odoamne going on for a twisted advance. This game has already got so much going on for it. We had a really creative start that put ROX in the driver's seat, and then a failed gank top lane while Jankos went for kind of the required gank. He didn't have camp spawned. He'd been 3 buffed. It was either successfully get that gank off or fall behind and maybe never be able to re-invade if Syndra keeps pushing the way she was. So picking up that gank has relieved a lot of pressure from H2k, and you see why. They've got a single kill, they've got first blood, but they're behind in gold because of the lead in the jungle and just how much pressure was relieved previously from the lane.
So many pushing lanes in their favor, and it's brutal to play against. Have to praise Odoamne for the excellent fancy footwork coming in on to stop the tower dive. Key, despite the mistakes in the mid lane, continues to play aggressive with the vision, but he's only level 3 here.
With no summoners.
It's a similar story for Che. This is not at all where they want the Malzahar to be. Bevan has to be safe. Sauce goes down, decent damage, jumps over the wall. Key there as well, and it's clear that ROX have identified the weakness in the mid lane now that Fevin's got a lead, and they're trying to shut it down.
So we haven't really talked about how ROX win. You identified, I think you hit the nail on the head, Dracos. Pushing lanes in every lane means that you basically prey on the lack of wave clear. Jin's your best wave clear, and he's definitely the lowest of the meta AD carries. You push, you take turrets, but if you get collapsed on...
Oh, not gonna be enough. Jankos grabs another kill. Fevin grabs another assist. Not even level 6 yet. So good to start. Jankos goes for the early Sork shoes as well, so it's even easier for him to make his presence known on the map. And this is probably the worst thing that could happen to ROX here in the early game.
And look, if you get that gank up off top, you miss the gank in mid lane, and then you go for that invade, the pressure probably would have been there. But the swing has started, the necessary swing for H2k. They do not want to allow ROX to just rotate around the lanes, prey upon their lack of wave clear, and just mean that there's no safe time for Forbidden to wave clear, for Forbidden to split push, force him to be on wave clear duty in a lane rather than actually making proactive plays. Jankos has been his own savior in getting out of the hole he started this game in, and now it's all up in the air, which is exactly where we like it to be, because this could be a really exciting game after some very controlled displays on the Rift.
Of course, have to see what Jankos could do now, because he has been the benefactor of those 2 kills, and I feel like the pressure is on him, because Fevin, yes, he's got the 2 assists, he's happy to have that, but he's down so far in CS right now that I don't think it makes up for the gold differential, but Jankos takes a camp and just looks to rinse and repeat, making that pressure down on the top side.
Yeah, someone's being smart. He knows that because of the blue buff start, we're going to see Jankos force himself onto the red buff to not lose it again. That's why he was on blue, but now turret dive time.
Locked up. Nuclear could be the one in trouble. No level 6 coming in, and the Graves does so much damage. Che flashing to safety. The tower used to block.
In mid lane.
Mickey's been caught out alone. Deathmark spin, spin, spin. Pop goes Mickey. All too easy at this stage. Curtain call comes out looking for the 4th shot, and somebody has to die, and it's fumble after fumble from the ROX Tigers.
So near yet so far, and H2k the benefactor in every lane. All the good work undone. It's even going to be Drake on top of everything, and ROX had a plan. Damn, it looked good at level 1, but it's completely gone out the window 7 minutes later.
A single outplay on the top side from Ottawamne explodes into an advantage for H2k, and they just keep the ball rolling. Ocean Drake dropping at 8 minutes as well. A happy addition to this team. And this looks like the start that H2k wanted. This is exactly what they needed from this composition, and despite everything ROX did to shut it down, still found a way to get it started.
And Jankos having the kills is so perfect from the perspective of H2k. Sometimes loading kills on the Elise just ends up actually hurting your lanes. But given that everyone wants to push up and force the Zed to be accountable, then a Sorcerer's Shoes Rush Elise is going to be the only unaccountable person on the Rift and actually be able to pick up the kills inside lanes as well. So they're in a perfect spot. Sure, they'll eventually be able to rotate the Zed into a side lane and be happy with that. But for now, all eyes on Jankos as everything's turned into gold after he started with a lump of coal.
Everything he needed, 2-0. For a bit more wards in the inventory, working ever closer. Picks up the Aether Wisp as well, so he's got the damage and the movement speed quite early in the game. And this landing phase just gets easier for Fevin as well. Beneficiary of the blue buff. Not something we always see for the Zed, but happy to give him the cooldown.
Someone.
Oh no. Flash over the wall. Fevin just going to back off. This is the Zed nightmare.
That was almost burst down with Deathmark on cooldown.
Almost didn't need the Deathmark. Could have flash autoed, but holds back. And this is the raw power that Fevin has right now. Jankos.
If he'd gone for a shallow ward, he might have actually been able to kill him before the last half second. So never mind. Gets the information he wanted. Could be pretty clear about what the pathing is from Songwon, who invariably re-enter his topside jungle.
And this is terrifying for ROX. You have to look. How can they walk into this jungle? There is a fed Elise, a fed Zed waiting to kill anyone and everyone who wants to roam through there. And for the bottom lane, those members go missing, and you just back up.
Yeah, Zed goes missing, Elise perennially missing. In the mid lane, going for an all-in.
Going forward. Important that he lands the shuriken. Only connects one. Pop goes in. Fevin getting locked up by the depth charge, but Yanko's now moving on to Lindarang. TP coming in from the Maokai. Maybe look for the disengage. Ottawamne flashes forward. This may be a bit too much. Ottawamne, the only man on the front lines. Che is there as well, but they don't have the damage to cut through the ROX Tigers.
Nice walk down from Nautilus, draws a teleport and a flash out of Ottawamne. So one of the few scenarios after level 1, the ROX have come up ahead in any fashion. Lindarang predictably does have the push in top lane, but as you say, if ever Forbidden is unleashed on the map alongside Jankos, Varus, all these lanes are only comfortable pushing on the side of ROX Tigers, and that's more space for the Zed and Elise to come and assassinate some dreams.
And this is the kind of the solo queue nightmare that we so rarely see in competitive, where it's any overextended lane is a vulnerable gank target. In competitive, it's so often about pressure, but when you got that fed Zed, you get to play by whatever rules you want.
Damage hits. They might be looking for this.
Curtain call, flash to the side, still gets snared, still locked down. 2 shots connect. Che now going to be the one to look for it. Not quite enough damage.
It wasn't in exhaust range, didn't have ignites, they won't secure the kill. But you're right, I mean, we see so much control mage play that you don't often have mid lane problems spilling into other lanes like you did in Season 3 when Ari would clear mid and go and roam into other lanes with DFG. That's not the world anymore. But with Zed back in the meta, with Elise as far ahead as it is, the problems are definitely spilling into other lanes because after the level 1, they were comfortable to push up. Now suddenly, they will second guess every movement that takes them more than halfway across their lane because even in short lanes, Forbidden and Jankos shows up and you're dead.
And really, this is just exactly what we wanted to see from Jankos. Forbidden already had a phenomenal game last series, but Jankos really struggled in a few moments there. And it's going to be Mickey who may struggle now.
Really big scat of the week there, actually, to knock away Jankos. Forbidden had everything up, including Flash, but was denied.
Ready to go in. Good patience, doesn't go under tower, knows better than to risk too much here. Exhaust is up and available for Mickey, even if he doesn't have the Flash. Zed takes up home in the mid lane, but since he's spotted on the map, it gives ROX the freedom to get down a little bit more vision, a little bit more control here. Feven, though, now with push priority, and ROX is going to have to be careful. Songwon playing with fire right now when he runs into the Dragon Pit. If Feven spots him, he could just very well be dead.
That's the little credit that you have to give ROX, is they're still playing, pushing up. They're still taking risks, because you could understand being petrified with fear, hanging back, and then just playing into the hand of H2k. But then a gold lead starts to open up. It's only 1,000 with 4 kills because they've had the push pressure and they've had the CS lead in multiple lanes. That won't sustain. And with the way the game is going, items starting to be completed on specifically Febiven, they'll have to show a lot more respect. But for now, they're fighting a fight they can take. Who knows how long they'll actually be competitive in those fights, because it just seems to be getting better and better for H2k.
And last time, that was the story as well. It was H2k who threw it all away, and will they do the same here?
Going for the all in.
Let's get a little bit down. Exhaust drops. Decent damage dish back out. Nice shot. Snaps back to the shadow. Makes it out to safety.
And Shuriken on the backside to confirm the kill. Was a really close one. You know, Febiven made his name on the international scene with those plays against Faker so long ago now at 2015 MSI. Zed back in the meta. Febiven looking to make an impression on H2k and looking pretty dapper as he does it.
Maybe looking to make another historic performance here. Killing Mickey, not quite the same as taking down Faker, but finding a necessary win for EU. Especially after the loss of G2, all too important. And really at this stage of the game, I feel like ROX are already kind of starting to run out of options. They have the wave pressure in 1 or 2 lanes, but the Maokai Nautilus not quite as close as it once was. Sangyun Ki starting to struggle here. You can see the CS advantage built up by Nuclear.
It's only really with assassins like Zed that push priority becomes a bad thing. But in this game, playing the game plan or the laning pattern that works best for Nautilus, Syndra, and Varus actually opens up the roams from Forbidden. So it's just really difficult to play when the innate playstyle that you picked for that was looking so good at level 1 when none of this would have happened is suddenly, you know, an Achilles heel for the ROX Tigers. So they're going to have to really think through things, look for mistakes. You know, they were gifted some mistakes in game 1, but now it's kind of H2k's game to control. No way to counter this Drake. They can't walk up when Zed's not on the map, although he is just wave clearing in mid. At least pretty strong in their own right. Second Drake over to H2k.
Double Ocean stacked in their favor as Jankos making his presence known on the bottom side. Febiven's moving down, and they just do not have the tools to stop him. Mickey tried to find his own way, but has to watch each and every bush for the potential Zed collapse. Febiven just backs off. ROX consistently now on the back foot. I think H2k being the driver's seat, this is good. We wanted to see them build an early lead, but they've been able to build early leads in the past, and now the question for me is, can they maintain it? Are they going to throw it away again? Because for all intents and purposes, this should be their game to win.
It just feels like ROX don't necessarily have the tools to be able to resist the lead that H2k's put up. And the reason why I say that is that, you know, consider as we flow forward, we're going to have must fight for objectives, things like Baron and the Elder Dragon. The only person who can face check to put down wards is Linderung. He's the only person who's not a target for the Zed. So putting down vision, defensive vision, is going to be almost impossible for ROX. They're going to be dictated by the power of the assassins on H2k's side. So it just feels like, just like those double AD Ivern comps were on 7.2, H2k would have to make a pretty monumental mistake to not take this one down.
Now backing off, Linderung's the man in trouble. Odawamne not going to get locked up, but Jankos will still suffer the depth charge. And I'd say, Papa Smithy, that sounds just like last game. Once again, this sounds like H2k. They just got to wait. They just can't let ROX get a lead. This time it's H2k. There's no way you can throw it away.
I mean, if you're Prolly and you're looking back at game one, you know, you've only got a couple of minutes between series, it's steady as she goes. H2k were in the driver's seat in terms of scaling. They delayed a lot of the power spikes. It looked like Trinity Force spikes on the side of ROX would be irrelevant, and they kind of took too far. Got caught a couple of times, and the timings became irrelevant. They lost the game. They're in such a calm, comfortable position. It's so hard for ROX to trade because they're so far behind. As we see, a cool replay here. So let's look at if there was actually the damage. There was, you see. It actually required the shuriken. Beautiful, beautiful stuff.
Nothing.
Zed dance moves,
Yeah,
huh?
nothing more beautiful to watch than some crisp Zed play.
And we thought that would be Mickey. You know, we were both sitting here saying, come on, some Mickey Zed, some Mickey Zed.
Mickey Zed.
I gotta say, for Biv and Zed's looking like a pretty consolation
And
prize.
H2k played Spoil Sport game one, taking those assassin picks away from him, but this time around they get them in their own hands, ending the draft out with the Zed.
And that's why you smile, because consider the draft in game one. The bans included Jace, Zed, Echo, all big Mickey champions. Basically, they were like, you can't have the stuff that makes you good. And ROX like, okay, we can play standard. We played the Corky comp. Sure, we got a bit fortunate, but we stuck the landing. We won the game. H2k went standard this game. They're the ones actually playing the curveballs, which is the Zed last pick, and they're profiting for it. So I like fortune favoring the bold. I like actually pushing for some unique stuff. And with kind of a lot of the must-ban red side champions being toned down on 7.3, we're seeing the value of last pick, I would say, in games like this.
We've seen it change compositions with support picks. We're seeing it exploit compositions now with the Zed pick. And for Mickey, has to feel rough. Has the Zhonya's finally. That'll mitigate a lot of the kill pressure.
It feels so bad, though. Okay, there's cooldown reduction, but nothing more. Okay, they're shining on the Che.
Staring contest goes down. Doesn't have enough damage to get it back. But meanwhile, Bevan's going in. He's exhausted. He wants to snap back.
Oh,
Yanko
okay.
comes over the wall. He's looking to get one. Can he get onto Mickey as well? Knock back. Nautilus goes in. Elise goes up. Yankos comes down. Key not going to grab it, but is going to grab it. The arrow over the wall, all too helpful.
3 for 2. Odoamne might get a turret. We'll see if there can be an answering turret from ROX. This time, even though caught in transition, able to take down Febiven. First time that these rotational plays haven't worked for H2k since the early game. Mid lane turret. You know, we're probably going to see, honestly, Nuclear park himself in mid. It's probably going to be Zed starting that split push, but I can see you as an EU caster shaking your head a little bit because it all looked so clean a moment ago, and now suddenly the seeds of doubt
They
begin.
get my hopes up, Papa Smithy. Every time I get excited. And it's not over yet, but it's over for Che in that instance.
And Che went for a walk, but what happened here? So we're seeing, we missed the genesis of how this started. I'm imagining that Zed went to cut down to bottom face check Graves, and that's when Syndra came along.
Ooh, nice arrow coming in.
The trade's not working out for H2k that time.
Not at all what they needed in the exchange. And once again, it hasn't lost in the game by any means. Zed is still strong. Zed can still 1v1 just about everyone on the enemy team, but these are the little moments we talk about when it comes to H2k. They look like a top team 90% of the game. But that 10%, man, throwing it all away.
What they need to do is really up their vision around specifically the bot lane. Finally, we're seeing Zed make his first trip to the bot lane. Taking out this outer turret gives Zed the space he needs to be able to put on the split push pressure that we know the Zed pick to give, but that's not happened yet. The turret's still alive, therefore that's why ROX are pushing up, trying to contest vision. No one's here. This turret will die. They gave up on it. Was very low. But, you know, it was a fight around the vision. Che walked up, and that's what led to the series of events that took down H2k in that last setup. Speaking of setups,
Curtain call goes in.
Optimistic
goes
here.
Wide. Second. Curtain's closed. No one goes down.
don't think anyone was trying to peek out the curtain, though, so it didn't really close very much.
Not much of a performance there, but does get them pressure in the mid lane. Pushes Miski back. Odoamne trying to set this one off. That's a little aggressive. Odoamne locked up into the tower. The team's not there. They need to hit the tower. Crit will get it. But Odo's going to trade his life in the end. Vevin on the way up.
Kill for an objective, but kind of a strange one, given how things were. It's not like Forbidden was getting work done on the bot lane turret. Mountain Drake spawns, but for now, Linderung is in top with no teleport, so doesn't look like ROX will take a bonus objective here.
Mickey backs off. Mickey heads to bottom lane to block Vevin from pushing any further, but it does free up Yankos. Try to take the Mountain Drake. Not a whole ton of tools to contest. Graves is on the top side. just kind of some oddball plays coming out here. I'm really not sure what the thought process is from H2k, but clearly desperate to get a larger lead than they have.
It didn't feel like they needed to invest Odoamne's entire health bar to pick up the outer mid lane turret, and they're more about splitting the map for Zed to roam rather than taking that outer turret. But regardless, kill for what ends up being a Drake in an outer mid lane turret is not the worst trade, although the turret is answered in top. You don't hate this if you're H2k. Again, it's more space for Zed, who was the main benefactor of the early game, to visit side lanes. There's been no latitude for Linderung to pick up armor, so even though he's pretty tanky, he finishes his first item of armor in Sunfire. He may not be a target for the Zed, but he's not exactly impervious to the Zed yet either.
Of course, the later it gets, maybe a Black Cleaver, maybe something else to kind of mitigate the armor stacking coming in for Linderung. But I want to talk about Baron. We're getting closer to the point in the game where it might be on the table, and last time we're like, it is not an option for ROX, and it took a colossal mistake from H2k to make it an option. Is it an option for H2k now?
Where the game sits right now, I would say no. Although if you can start getting pressure onto Linderung in the top side, that'd be massive. Get him down as low as possible. He doesn't have the ward coverage to actually make the pushing plays he wants to, and ward coverage doubles up for allowing Zed to split push and also Baron vision. So a setup here maybe is, speaking of setups.
That's a ton of damage. Goes in, goes out, does get locked down. They're trying to get one back. Jankos may have given his life in the exchange. Not going to happen. Nuclear gets tagged. Songwon on the front lines. Febiven hungry for blood. He's going to get key, or is he? Nice flash at the end of the death mark. Perfect timing. But Songwon, he's overstepped. He goes down, and H2k find advantage.
Yeah, that's finally what H2k were looking for. Okay, Jankos gives up his life, but H2k were in position to pick up the pieces. Odoamne in the backside as well. Wasn't needed for the first fight. Linderung's trying to buy time. Very tanky.
Not a whole lot that they can do here. Febiven, not a ton of cooldowns. Not going to be able to take the tower here. Just a bit of poke coming down from H2k, but they have to respect Mickey.
That's actually really smart from Linderung. He gave up his health bar and also his ult to allow Mickey to take the safe way all the way around and wave clear. He'll lose position on the blue buff, but given how many members they lost, certainly not too big a deal.
Small sacrifices for the greater good of the team.
So let's watch the replay. I mean, Jankos comes out of a control ward, almost bursts down Sungyun instantly, and when the turn comes to the Jankos, you're like, wait. But remember that Febiven is cutting from top lane to the mid lane. By far going to be first there. Syndra has to walk so defensively in order to make this work, and then everyone from ROX is overextended.
Good pickups in the end, but last time we saw this come through, it was Jankos face-checking the bush, and it was a Baron coming in for ROX Tigers. H2k aren't so lucky to find a large advantage, don't have quite enough to push it in. Just a couple kills, although Keep maybe next on the menu. Nice disengage coming in from ROX, offering the damage, dissuading Jankos from face-checking forward.
Zed wasn't grouped there, so actually able to face-check and put down that vision that I was talking about would eventually be very difficult for the ROX Tigers to establish. Muller's coming from base. Is teleport advantage for Linderung because he just walked up compared to the teleport from Odoamne. Speaking of teleports, going right down the middle.
Could be a questionable play. They don't really have the damage to take him out. Febiven leaping into the backside, trying to buy time. The rest of H2k looking to disengage. Linderung may have gone too early. Odo, the only available target, he gets locked up. He may get taken out. Curtain Call comes in, have ROX overextended. Curtain Call goes wide onto the flank. It's all too easy. Febiven goes in. He's not going to get exhausted. He wants to go back. Not going to find a kill quite yet, but it's Odo who is dropped for H2k and nothing lost from ROX.
But they don't have a minion wave, they don't have an obvious objective to pick up, and they're certainly not turning on to Baron, so teleport for a kill. Kind of answering what Odoamne tried to pull off in mid lane, so no big advantage taken there. I like the teleport given the mid lane force, and it also forces Febiven to react rather than just park himself in a side lane when no one is really set up on the side of H2k to answer him.
Has now returned to park himself in the side lane. Linderung doing the same on the bottom side of the map. No TP this time to join the fray, however. But it's a similar story for Odoamne, at least for now.
He's very much in bot lane. This could be a Baron force from H2k. They want to at least force him to walk up. For now, not going to be. Having the scuttle vision is very helpful for ROX in this scenario.
Sangin throws the arrow over the wall. Febiven's been waiting for an opportunity to go in. Feeling comfortable in that blue pit.
This will take a while. I want to draw your attention to the itemization from Songwon. Went second item, Steric's Gauge, or first item after the jungle, to be able to stand up and take up a bit of that Zed all in. Now it's level 16. I don't think that's going to be enough, but it is a tool as Key's dead.
Yep. Not a lot to say there. Key gets dropped. Key gets popped. H2k may look for a Baron now.
They will draw Nautilus to walk up first, though, because now they don't have anyone to be able to pressure around the Baron. We talked about the difficulties of ROX Tigers warding, and yeah, Key's going to die a lot this game.
A little bit of a struggle. 2-1-3, only his first death. Beautiful flash to escape what looked like a certain death last time Febiven ulted onto him.
Linderong walking up himself. He's the only one who can try this. They don't have any spot vision. They do have Varus, but Sungyun is trying to hold on to...
Oh, Maokai coming on the side. Febiven running forward. Flash from Mickey.
Very defensive flash.
A lot of respect paid over to Febiven. It's an advantage that H2k are happy to have. They trade him back and forth, but not losing too much. Both teams just testing each other, looking for openings, looking for opportunities, finding nothing yet.
But ROX are keeping H2k as a 5-man unit. They're not allowing Febiven the latitude to visit the side lanes, as his build honestly dictates. So, forcing a Z comp to 5v5, will they win a 5v5? Very possible from H2k because of all the different targets available to Febiven especially. But they'd rather be in the sideline. That's kind of the percentage play you want to make, but for now denied, and ROX trying to extend the game. I don't know if things get necessarily much better as things go on.
We'll have to see adjusting forward, but the defensive items you mentioned, the Sterix Gauge, Zanya's Hourglass. Edge of Night will help Varus a little bit if he can block the Death Mark, although it is unlikely. So doing their best to mitigate the impact of the Zed pick overall, however, it is still just Linderong who can feel confident moving forward in any lane, in any situation.
What I really want to see is someone like Che, maybe even Jankos, walking with the Zed and allowing them to actually get the vision over the blue buff that should have been established 5-6 minutes ago. We saw one nice cut from Febiven from top to mid that got them an advantage.
Nice block on the Void Link to nullify the Cocoon, but Jankos is still going forward. Key's still getting caught out. Now looking to go forward, wants to get the pick on, gets in, gets out. Febiven. Curtain Call goes in. It's Sangyun who could be in trouble, but Linderong is too far forward. His team is not there to back him up. Curtain Call's gone, so they are feeling comfortable to move forward, but it may not be enough. Linderong on the front lines, slow, steady, burn down. Mickey looking for a little bit of something, but gets caught in the arms of Otawamne. Slow fight, back off. H2k looking for control. Ocean Drake will make it easy to heal up here.
But when does H2k actually feel like they're strong enough to start the Baron? 4 kills on both their main carries. Neither of them, specifically the Nuclear, not fantastic at taking Barons. Less consistent damage on the Jhin, but Febiven will do plenty of damage on it. A single kill onto Malzahar will happen, rinse and repeat. That's just the reality of trying to get wards, especially when Nautilus is not grouped with the team. But this needs to be the objective. Scrying spots it. They have Otawamne to tank it. What will be the reaction from ROX?
They're going to pull, Nuclear reloads, 4 shots, ready for the fight. Are just going to back off. Linderong hits the Spider, not going to connect. Songwon running forward to the Baron. That's not good.
Deathfire touch.
Sapperling.
He's so low.
Oh, it's so... No, Febiven, they're hungry for it. They're going to try to take down Key once again, and they're going to get him. Brave walks away with a sliver of life. Maybe this is the opportunity for H2k.
They know that Songwon's out of the fight, can get a bit of lifesteal off the creeps from his jungle item, but nothing more. This should be the Baron move from H2k.
Oh, Songwon, he uses his first smite to heal up a little bit. Got a second one on the way, ready to contest if he can. Damage going in, Che's the one who's gonna get locked up. Jankos goes up, Che is all too low. Febiven wants to go forward, he goes in onto Mickey. What can he get? He needs to pull back, but he can't get it. Sonya's goes up, do they have the damage? He's trying to ult, but it's not enough. Jankos too tanky, Curtain Call's coming out, it might be curtains for ROX. Sangyun trying to use Linderong to body block. Team Patience goes in.
Oh, he got it!
Oh, Nuclear! That's the European sniper. Moving in, Linderong now set to fall. The crit, not quite enough, but it's the slow, steady goodbye from H2k, and one nice shot to close it out.
Conga line leader job is not available for Linderong. Certainly let his team down in that regard. Don't know about that one. And with Redemption, actually, they're going to switch on to the Baron. Should be a pretty easy clear. Key is going to come up, walk up, but what can he do? He's died 3 times in the last 5 minutes, it feels like.
All too cautious. They're just going to try to kill him again, but they need to complete the Baron. Nuclear walks up with the crit. Ace goes down, Baron continues to grab Smite just to heal up because he knows he's got the luxury of taking his time. This is the H2k in the driver's seat that Europe fans wanted to see. 5k gold lead, Baron drops, and Nuclear, the man of the hour.
I think Key spent about roughly 70% of the last 5 minutes with a gray screen. No pause for that. It's not an issue. That
I mean, it is an
people
issue.
can assist him with. It's probably going to have to be off his own regard. Again, Malzahar a bit fruitless trying to ward in this scenario. Walking up and trying to contest the Baron 1v3 also a bit fruitless. Not sure what to say there about Key.
This is a really good opening for H2k as well. Zhonya's being down means Feven has that much more kill pressure. Baron being up means that every lane is in danger.
And Febiven's just so strong. That Black Cleaver you were speaking about earlier is complete. He can split push with Baron and no one will be able to enter lane. Guardian Angel Linderang, I guess, will be the best option, but that just means that Maokai will be on the other side of the map. Another Drake, that's third ocean of the game for H2k secured. So that's 3 oceans and a mountain, so Elder Dragon will also be a big field of battle.
Regen! And true damage. True damage being probably the more important part. Ocean, ocean, mountain, ocean.
Again, oceans in this current meta feel kind of like old Drakes.
We're
like second stack and
landlocked.
fourth stack of Dragon.
We're like landlocked here. I feel like this is contextually inappropriate. More mountains, less oceans.
No narrative dragons this game, sadly. Every time we have a telecom war, we get 3 Infernals, so I'm happy.
That's wonderful.
Right giveth, right get the way.
I don't think it's a conscious.
How do you know?
Pretty sure it's RNG.
Come on, there's an Infernal switch, right? Is there an Infernal switch? Come on, tell me, Dracos. I must know.
Conspiracy. All right, get out your tinfoil hat, Papa Smithy. I'm gonna take you for a ride. I don't know.
They wouldn't share that with the casters. Plausible deniability.
Pretty sure it's just RNG, my friend. Ottawamne, not nearly as scared.
Is that actually all-inning on the bot side as well?
Going forward.
He used the death mark on Mickey, but Flash and the Zhonya's enough to cancel that out. That was off screen, but clearly just shows you how the pressure game is being played. Immense pressure being applied. No one can enter lane against Febiven apart from the Nautilus. Gives Maokai free time in tops. They have position in every lane. All these easy objectives going down, and help, they're trying to break the base as well.
Slow, steady push. Edge of Night to mitigate the ability to CC down that Zed. It's the slow, systematic close we were kind of waiting to see from H2k. But maybe still some opportunities to throw it away here in this instance. Sangwon doing his best to clear out the waves, smiting away the final creep just to make sure no more damage can drop. But this is the grim state of the late game coming in for ROX, is that Zed is just too far ahead.
Zed's itemization so clean these days with all the lethality items and no QSS to easily answer his ultimate. Mickey falls low, and there's the ult.
Ooh, he's just gonna get popped up. It's gonna be all too easy for Feven. He's running into the back lines. Mark spinning, not gonna find the kill in the end. Is just going to pull back. However, Jankos does go down. Not enough to dissuade the engage, though. H2k continue to push forward. They're gonna break the inhibitor.
Linderang's actually just gonna go in.
Oh. Arrow goes out. Chase starting to get lows. Might be the last stand coming in for ROX Tigers, but Ottawamne is too tanky. They don't have the damage to deal with him. Nothing in the kit of Malzahar.
Well, the Varus build, of course, has moved straight to the poking, sieging builds and was preyed upon the moment that they opened up that early lead, H2k. This is such a what-if game from both sides, given how ROX started. Key.
Run. Deathfire touch. Nuclear goes godlike. In goes Ottawamne. This could be the close. One shot, dancing grenade. 4th shot drops onto the tower. Feven sidesteps the hook. H2k, absolute dominance here as we move into the mid game. 9-20 the kill score. A 12k gold lead and 2 inhibitors down. All but confirming a game 3 in this instance.
And a super fascinating one, it has to be said, given how the games have gone. Game 1 kind of went against our expectations after some of those trademark mistakes from H2k in the mid-game got very much punished. This game was much more what was expected after the draft. Love the last pick Zed from Febiven, and we're going to see a replay. And Linderang has certainly stood up this game, done his job on the Nautilus, just around him. Zed is assassinating everyone else, and unkillable Nautilus unfortunately means very killable other members in this game, as we're going to see that replay. Oh. Well, they just could have not moved, you know?
Nautilus has a really big front, but a really small backside when it comes to hitboxes, I think is what we learned. Squat more, Nautilus. Squat more. Give your team the hitbox that they need to block this. That's just unfortunate. That's one of those fringe cases where you're like, all right, now I know that, but there's no way I would have known that
exactly.
prior.
Hitbox being bigger on one side than the other, it seems. Now H2k just have free run of the map. You know, they can walk up in multiple lanes. They'll probably just play 2. They don't need to play 1-3-1 anymore. The turret dive's certainly a reality given how tanky Odo Omne is. Double Guardian Angels, so even Jankos can enter, reset aggro, or even just tank up.
This is it, Papa Smithy. Is this our game 3? One final push potentially coming in from H2k. One inhibitor, all that remains between them and the Nexus Towers. Kind of just waiting with bated breath, seeing what ROX are going to do.
And we're just waiting for H2k to pull the trigger. It's not really ROX. Their force is non-existent. A flank from Linderung means he's not in position to peel for the 4 people that are free food for Febiven, so they're just waiting for H2k to make that move. They're going for that deep teleport.
May not be enough. Tower gets burned down slowly. Nautilus coming in on the backside. That's a lot of damage. Nuclear's caught all alone in front of the Nautilus. He's got a lot of damage. Unfortunately, I don't know what it's going to mean. He's exhausted out, and H2k are kiting back.
Black Cleaver here as well.
Curtain call goes in. Febiven's going to make it out. Linderung going to be the sacrificial lamb. GA pops. The shot goes through. Mickey drops. H2k cleaning up the ROX Tigers. Now moving in to break the base. They don't even need this inhibitor as they go move in. And they look to close out this game 2.
In a different game, that was exactly the right move from Linderung, but no latitude for things like that. We're going to get a game 3, a welcome one. This series could have been anything. Feels like it has been a different time. Remember how this game started. It was insanity, and congratulations, H2k. Europe will not go down without a fight. And we get a 3rd game, a best of 1, fittingly, for all the marbles.
And one game to decide who will advance to the bracket stage. One game to see who will go down to the elimination match. A lot of pressure on both teams, but honestly for H2k, you gotta be feeling proud of Febiven. He's had 2 amazing games.
And the story of this game will certainly be a bit like you're really spinning a yarn, because it started off so well for ROX Tigers. They understood how this game would play. As you'd expect, they're a Z team themselves. Went for that full court press, took 3 buffs, and then you saw it kind of slip through their fingers as demonstrably as possible. The botched top lane gank as Jankos kind of turns things around and gets the gank in mid, and from there, it slipped away, and H2k deserving winners.
Yeah, certainly did in the end, of course, closing it out cleanly, although it did take them a bit of time. Well, that's enough from us. Let's see how the analysts felt about that Z pick and that H2k win.
So we found the secret for EU. It all relies on the wrong predictions from Crumbs and Fruskirin.
Well,
Who knew?
This is the formula, guys. If we just keep picking the wrong team.
Oh, I just don't want to get blamed after this.
So next game round, when I ask you your predictions, it's both going to be ROX Tigers, right?
We got to see the draft.
So that game right there, I mean, you were excited about the Z pick. They didn't quite migrate into that 1-3-1 that you're expecting as early, but again, that's probably down to ROX Tigers, right? They kind of delayed it ever so slightly.
But the beauty behind the Z pick is because if you're going to play against the ROX Tigers, who are just going to be kind of feeding and putting themselves in positions where they're just going to die constantly and kind of apply pressure that way, Z can snowball really well off that. But, I mean, ROX Tigers really pushed the line between are you feeding, what are you doing, the Morellonomicon Malzahar? I mean, come on, right?
And just kind of to piggyback off of that, like, not to take credit away from H2k because this game was much better than them, but a lot of those key snowball plays that allowed them to get their foot back into the game and to ultimately win were actually mistakes that they capitalized on from ROX Tigers. It wasn't them being proactive in setting up the correct play. You think about like the botch dive top lane. You think about you know, Elise just kind of face checking into Zed and waiting arms and picking up the kills that way. The fact that Key is building that Morellonomicon and then looking for the Zanya.
Like, I need more AP. But the level 1 was so good from ROX Tigers. They 3-man invade, try to stop the saplings, they steal the red buff, 3-buff them with the dual lane, getting the red buff them. That is an immediate signal. All right, Syndra, don't get ganked. You're going to get ganked from the right side. Just hug left side. We know he can do that. He did that post about 5 minutes. But the fact that they died to that gank, which was so obvious, all you have to do is give up a couple CS because he was stomping the lane in CS. At one point, maybe 20 CS up, just doing so well. And you saw that being exemplified by the gold lead still being in ROX's favor, even though they were giving up kills. The CS was all over the place for them. And they just didn't respect the opponent. They just kept dying. the H2k.
For one of the major things that I noticed during that game is when it came to this Baron dance, the vision control was there for H2k, and Key was like, do you know what's going to be good over time and time again? I'm going to walk directly into their team. I mean, and obviously someone had to make the call, but then Nautilus should, like Papa Smithy said, the only person on ROX that can do this is Nautilus, right? He has to be the one that makes that front line cool, because at least he can survive for a bit longer. But Key was the one that was getting caught out time and time again. And again, the H2k didn't need to do Baron. They kept doing it over and over until they finally found something decisive, and then took the Baron and suddenly snowballed out from there.
Well, they were so strong that they had no problem looking towards the 5v5, and they had such great pick potential on their composition. My thing is like Key's having a real rough series. Like his Thresh in game number 1, just like unfortunately watching Thresh miss all these skill shots, and it's like, coach, throw me a bone, put some on Malzahar, single button.
And he's like, man, could we get easier than Malzahar? Just put him on Janet, put him on Soraka. Yeah, but at what point is it reverting back to LCK form, the kind of sporadic all over the place that we see from the ROX Tigers here and there? Or is it just an off game?
Yeah.
Because it had really looked bad. Like those 2 support games, there were maybe 3 hooks that landed. Like that is not really the standard you're looking for, and you do rely on your support quite a bit. Maybe Karma, just speed everybody up.
No, I agree with that. And, I brought it up at the very beginning of the desk, consistency. ROX Tigers are very inconsistent. They usually have really good ideas, but then you see things like that Graves dive where it's like, oh, God, such a disaster. Whereas H2k are far more consistent and far more dominant. You could see that because they are topping their region in the rankings.
Absolutely. We're going to go to a short break, and when we come back, it will be the deciding match between H2k and ROX Tigers. We will find out who is going to make the semi-final at the Spodek and who has to fight for their lives on Saturday. Stick around. We'll be back very soon.
Mitigating the pressure. Well, Graves showing up's going to mitigate some of that. Yanko splashes in Cocoon Land. They're looking to get first blood for Bevy, and that's going to come through. Calls coming out. It might be curtains for ROX. Sanyu trying to use Linderine to body block. Patience goes in. Oh, he got it! Oh, nuclear! That's the European sniper. Curtain call goes in. Bevan's going to make it out. Linderon going to be the sacrificial lamb. GA pops. The shot goes through. Mickey drops H2k.
A different game. That was exactly the right move from Linderong, but no latitude for things like that. We're going to get a game 3, a welcome one. This series could have been anything. Feels like it has been a different time. Remember how this game started. It was insanity, and congratulations, H2k.